Hi, everyone. So in this video, we're going to take a look at Chapter 5 of the Ecce Romani textbook and the story and translate it together. So like I've been saying in all these videos, the best thing you can do before you dive in is make sure that you have all the vocab under control, that you've looked at it, memorized it as best as you can, maybe looked at some English derivatives to help you with the translations to make sure that you've got the words, and that you've read through the grammar, right? So in this chapter, you're looking at complementary infinitives. You're going to see a few in this story, so make sure that you've got that under control, you understand the idea, and then you'll be ready to dive into the story and be off and running. So what I would recommend, again, the first thing you should do is read this story out loud to yourself. So just take a minute, read it aloud in Latin. It'll give you a chance to hear the words and start to put your vocab into context so that you understand where the words are, what they look like in actual Latin sentences, and you're not just looking at vocab words kind of in the abstract, right? Put them in a sentence by reading the story, and that way you'll understand it. And again, the more you can read aloud, you'll practice your pronunciation, your listening skills. It's a really good idea to read it out loud first and then try to understand what's going on. You'd be shocked how much of the story you'll understand just by reading and hearing it as opposed to trying to translate every single word. So let's dive in. The first thing you want to do, again, is you want to take the story, and if we highlight the different cases, which is something we've been working on so far, you'll see that if we put all the words that are nominative in red and all the words that are accusative in blue, you'd end up with the story looking like this. Now, I've cheated a little bit, and I've skipped a few in prepositional phrases, which is totally fine. You're going to learn how those work in a later chapter. But for now, I've just tried to highlight the subjects and direct objects, and I've left everything else out. So it's cheating a little bit, and you might be wondering, well, isn't in Silwam accusative? Like, yes, it is. It's totally fine. But I'll explain it to you in later videos as we go. So the other case that we have is vocative, which I've put in orange here. So remember, vocative is when you're directly calling someone by name. You'll see 4 different examples of that in this story. All right, so now that you have everything highlighted, you're ready to dive in and start translating. And again, when you have the cases highlighted like this, it'll help you understand where's the subject, where's the direct object, and you can translate. So for instance, this is one of the lines from the story. You have pueri ubi clamorem audiunt statem ad puellas corunt. So if you can remember that pueri is your subject, right? It has the long I, which is a nominative plural ending. If you can remember that's your subject, now you know that the boys are doing something, and there's more than one. So it's boys, right? Then you look for a verb, and you think to yourself, okay, if I have a plural subject, you can anticipate that the verb is going to be plural too. And in this case, it's going to be an NT because you're saying they, right? The boys are doing something, they are doing something. So it makes sense that we have audiunt and corunt, right? The boys are listening or hearing something, and they're also running later on in the sentence, right? So you have the boys, ubi clamorem audiunt, when they hear the shouting. Clamorem is clearly accusative, right? It's your direct object with that em ending. So that's the thing that the boys hear. What do they hear? The shouts or the shouting, however you want to translate it. In this story, you're going to see it's the girls shouting. But when they hear the shouts, they immediately run towards the girls. So if you think of it that way and kind of piece it back in your mind of subject, verb, direct object, which is our Latin, our English word order rather, it'll help you translate the Latin, right? You'll understand where am I supposed to go, who's doing what. And again, the better version is to read this out loud and start to hear the different endings. But again, if you're just looking at it and you want to kind of be a little more analytical about it, absolutely. Look at the endings of the nouns, look at the endings of the verb and piece it all together and you'll be ready to go. So now we can come back to the story and start translating it. So the first line, you have Cornelia et Flavia in horto saepe ambulant. Cornelia and Flavia, that's our subject, right? What are they doing? Ambulant, they're walking. In horto means in the garden, and saepe means often. So you're saying Cornelia and Flavia often walk in the garden. Si dies est calidus, ex horto in silvam ambulant, quod ibi est rivus frigidus. So if the day, the dies, right, is hot, calidus, or warm, those are both nominative. Don't worry about dies. I know it has a slightly different ending, but I promise you it is nominative, and calidus is describing it. So the day is hot. Remember, whenever you have the verb to be, both sides of the verb to be are going to be nominative case. So if the day is hot, ambulant, they walk, ex horto, out of the garden, in silvam, into the woods, right? Why do they do this? Quote, there's our conjunction, because ibi, which means there, right? Meaning out in the woods. There is a rivus frigidus, a cold river or a cool river. So it's saying when the day is hot, they like to go out of the garden, right? Where they usually walk, and they go into the woods because there's a cold river there. So now we can continue. You have in eadem silva, pueri quoque saepe erant. So in eadem silva means in the same woods. Eadem means same, and silva is one of our new vocab words that means woods, right? Pueri is my subject. Again, the long I gives it away that it's nominative plural. The boys. Quoque means also. Saipe means often. So you're saying the boys also often errant, wander, right? So you could translate this, the boys also often wander in the same woods, meaning the same woods that the girls like to go into when the day is hot, right? Then you go to the next paragraph. We have hodie, which means today. Quod dies est calidus, puellae subarbore prope rivum sedent, right? So today, because the day is hot, dies est calidus. There's that same phrasing again. Because the day is hot, the puellae, the girls, they are sitting, sedent, under the tree, subarbore, prope rivum, near the river, meaning the cool river that they were looking for before. Okay? Then you have dum ibi sedent, while they are sitting there. So sedent means they are sitting. Ibi means there, meaning by the river. So while they're sitting there, Flavia, right, Flavia says, and then we have a quote, Cur Marcus arborem ascendere non volt Cornelia, esne puer ignaus, right? So Flavia asks, why does Marcus, there's my subject, non volt ascendere, or ascendere non volt. Why does he not want non volt ascendere, to climb? That's your complementary infinitive, the new grammar in this chapter, right? That's what it looks like. So why does he not want to climb arborem, the tree? Right? So why doesn't he want to climb the tree, Cornelia? Right? So she's hinting at this idea that Marcus, doesn't really like to climb, and you're going to see she thinks Sextus is pretty great because he likes to climb trees, right? So she asks Cornelia, and again, Cornelia is vocative here. She's calling her by name, and says, why does Marcus not want to climb the tree? Then she says, esne puer ignaus, is he, right? Esne, is he a puer ignaus, a cowardly boy? The ne on esne, you can ignore for now, or if you want to really understand what it is, it's called an enclitic. It's an ending stuck onto the verb that just means you're asking a yes or no question. So in this case, when you say esne, you're anticipating the answer to be either be yes, he is a cowardly boy, or no, he's not. The answer is in the next paragraph. You have minime respondet Cornelia. Minime means no in this case, right? So no responds Cornelia, or Cornelia responds. Again, Cornelia is the subject. She says, Cur tu Marcum non amas, Flavia? Why do you, tu, that's my subject, non amas, not like? And again, notice how the verb ends in an S, because you're saying you are doing it. So she says, why do you not like Marcus, right? Marcum is my direct object. So why don't you like Marcus, Flavia? Again, Flavia, vocative. So she responds, why don't you like Marcus, Flavia? Marcus neque ignaus neque temerarius est. So she says, Marcus is neither nor. Neque means neither nor. So you're going to have neque and something followed by neque and something else, right? So it says, Marcus est, neither ignaus, which means cowardly, nor reckless, temerarius. So she's saying he's not a cowardly boy, but he's also not reckless. He's right down the middle, is kind of what she's getting at when she describes her brother, right? Then we have tum Flavia, right? So then Flavia says, sed Marcus est semper solicitus, sextum nihil terret, right? So she says, but Marcus is always solicitus. He's always anxious or worried, right? Again, semper just means always. So she says, Marcus is always worried or anxious. Sextum here is the direct object. So nihil is actually our subject, nothing, right? Nothing terret, nothing frightens Sextus. He's the direct object, right? Being frightened is kind of the idea. So she says, Marcus is always anxious, nothing frightens Sextus. Then we have a change in the action. We have subito, suddenly. Lupum conspiciunt, qui ad rivum furtum descendit. So lupum conspiciunt. Lupum, the wolf, is not my subject. It's the direct object. So conspicuent means they catch sight of. The they it's referring to is Flavia and Cornelia, right? The two girls. They catch sight of the wolf, the lupum, right? And it's a wolf. Qui often means who. Since you're talking about an animal, you might say which, right? The wolf, which descendit, is climbing down, furtim, stealthily, right? Just an adverb, stealthily climbing down, ad rivum, towards the river, right? So they catch sight of this wolf, which is going right near where they are. Perteritai sunt puellae. So perteritai means frightened or terrified. Sunt, they are, and puellae is my subject, right? The girls. So again, because you have the verb to be here, perteritai and puellae are going to be both in the nominative case, right? So you're saying the girls are frightened. If you did left to right word order, you're saying frightened are the girls, but flip it around, right? The girls are frightened, or the girls are terrified. Statim clamant, so immediately they shout. Marque, sexte, ferte auxilium, ferte auxilium. Marque and sexte, right? Marcus and Sextus are both vocative. And the reason they're vocative is because she's calling them by name. So she shouts out, Marcus, Sextus, bring help, ferte auxilium, right? Bring is a command, right? Another imperative. We've seen a few of these. You're going to learn how to form them in a chapter coming up pretty soon. Auxilium is the direct object. It's what they're asking them to bring, right? Bring help, bring help. Then it continues, pueri ubi clamorum audiunt, statim ad puellas currunt. So the boys, when audiunt, when they hear clamorum, the shouting or the shouts, right? This is the line that I did for you earlier in the video. When they hear the shouts, immediately currunt, they run, ad puellas, they run toward the girls. The lupus, right? The wolf. So you have lupus eos jam conspicit. So the wolf now catches sight of lupus conspicit. We have our subject and our verb. Eos is our direct object. It's a plural direct object here. So we're going to see that when you want to pluralize a direct object that ends in um, you make it an os to pluralize it. So it means them, right? I think in this chapter they just give it to you as a separate vocab term, but that's what's going on. It's also accusative, just plural. So the wolf now catches sight of them, meaning the boys. Tum sextus quod lupus eum terret arborem petit et statim ascendit. So then Sextus, because the wolf scares him, so lupus terret eum. Lupus is my subject, terret is my verb, eum is my direct object. Because the wolf frightens him or scares him, he looks for a tree, arborem petit. Again, arborem is the direct object, so my subject is still Sextus. He petit, he looks for a tree, and immediately ascendit, climbs, meaning climbs it or climbs the tree. Said Marcus, ramum aripit et lupum repellet. So Marcus, aripit ramum, he grabs a branch, right? Ramum is my direct object. Et lupum repellet, so he drives off, repellet, the lupum, the wolf. Again, it's a direct object, so it's the thing being driven off is the idea. So Marcus drives off the wolf. Puellae e silva currunt et ad villam salvae adveniunt. So the girls currunt, they run out of the woods, rather, a silva, out of the woods, and toward the house or the country house, ad villam. Adveniunt means they arrive. So you can almost translate this as they arrive at the house, right? Ad villam adveniunt. They arrive at the house or reach the house. Salvae here is an adjective describing the girls, safe. You can translate it more as an adverb here. So safely, right? They safely reach the house. Brevi tempore, ubi Marcus advenit, eum laetae excipient. And I'm seeing a typo here. That should be excipiunt with a unt. That's okay. Just ignore that. But it says brevi tempore, in a short time, when Marcus arrives, right, or reaches the house, right, Marcus advenit. When he arrives, they welcome him, right, eum excipiunt. They welcome him. Laetae, again, it means happy, but you would almost translate it as an adverb, happily. The laetae, ae, is referring back to the puellae, the girls. So they happily welcome it. So Marcus drives off the wolf, he runs back to the country house, and the girls are happy to see him. Sextus puerignavus ad hoc sede in arbore perterritus. So Sextus, the cowardly boy, is still sitting in the tree, in arbore, perterritus, terrified, right? It's describing Sextus. He's still up in that tree, and he's terrified of the wolf, so he hasn't come down yet. Ex arbore descendere timet. Here's our last complementary infinitive. Descendere timet. He's afraid, meaning Sextus, timet. He's afraid to climb down. Descendere, ex arbore, out of the tree. So he's afraid to climb down. So again, that's the translation with some of the grammar highlighted for you, right? The cases. Again, read it through, practice it, and think about what's going on with the grammar. Where are my complementary infinitives? Where's my subject? Where's my direct object? If you start piecing this all together, it'll make a lot more sense to you. And again, you want to make sure that you're reading it out loud so you can hear this story and understanding it as you go.